All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving deep into one of the most exciting, frankly, game-changing advancements in AI, agents. We're going to move way beyond your basic chatbots and actually look at how you can build a system that doesn't just talk, it acts. So let's get into it.
Okay, so here's the roadmap for our builder's journey today. First, we'll cover what an AI agent even is. Then, we'll break down its three core components. After that, we'll talk about when to use one agent versus, a whole team of them. And finally, we'll wrap up with maybe the most important part, how to build agents that are safe and reliable.
All right, first things first. Let's really get a handle on the blueprint here. What is an AI agent, really? What makes it tick?
I mean, we've all talked to a chatbot, right? They're everywhere. But AI agents, they're a whole different animal. So what's the big leap? What really separates a powerful agent from a simple chatbot?
It really boils down to one massive difference. An agent doesn't just sit there and answer your questions, it acts. It actually uses its core AI model, its brain, to manage an entire workflow from start to finish, dynamically picking the right tools for the job.
Here's a great way to think about it. A traditional, old-school rules engine, it's like a really strict checklist. If this, then that. Super rigid. But an LLM agent? Man, that's like a seasoned investigator. It's not just checking boxes. It's looking at the whole picture, evaluating context, and spotting those subtle patterns, which is an absolute game changer for complex stuff like fraud detection.
And that right there is why agents are so powerful. They shine in all the places where automation has historically just failed. They're perfect for those workflows that need that human-like judgment, Like navigating a super tangled web of rules for a vendor review or making sense of messy, unstructured data like insurance claims or a mountain of emails.
Okay, so now that we get what an agent is, let's pop the hood and see how it's built. You can think of these next three things as the agent's essential toolkit. This is what you need to get your hands dirty.
And you know what? It's actually beautifully simple when you break it down like this. First, you've got the model. That's the brain, the part that does all the reasoning and decision-making. Then, you've got the tools. These are the hands, the way the agent actually interacts with the world using APIs and other functions. And finally, you have the instructions. This is the rulebook, telling the agent exactly how it should behave. So remember, brain, hands, and rulebook.
So let's zoom in on those hands for a second. The tools, because they're not all the same. You've got your data tools, which are all about retrieving information. Querying a database, reading a PDF. Then you've got action tools for actually doing things like sending an email or updating your CRM. But honestly, the most powerful ones might just be the orchestration tools. This is where things get really cool, because one agent can literally use another specialized agent as one of its tools. It's like having a whole team of experts right there in a box. This brings us to a really critical point about that rulebook. While the brain and the hands give the agent its power, it's the instructions that give it control and reliability. The quote says it all, right? High-quality instructions are essential for any LLM app, but they are especially critical for agents. Why? Because this isn't just a suggestion. It's how you prevent things from going off the rails before they even start.
So, okay, how do you actually write a good rulebook? Well, the good news is you probably don't have to start from a blank page. You can use your existing policy documents, then prompt the agent to break down its tasks to think step by step. But honestly, the most crucial part, plan for the unexpected. You have to capture those edge cases and exceptions. That's what separates a brittle agent that breaks easily from one that's truly resilient and useful.
All right, let's level up. We've got our agent's components, but now we need an assembly plan. How do all these pieces fit together? Is this agent going to work alone, or is it going to be part of a team?
And here's a huge piece of advice for any builder out there. Start simple. Seriously, before you go dreaming up some super complex network of collaborating agents, just focus on maximizing what a single agent can do. Adding more agents can often mean adding more headaches, so you only want to add that complexity when you absolutely need it.
Now, when you are ready for a team, there are basically two main ways to set them up. There's the manager pattern, where you have one central agent acting like a boss, delegating tasks out to specialists. And then there's the decentralized pattern. This is more like a team of peers, where agents just hand off the task to the next specialist in the line when their part is done.
But how do you know when it's actually time to split into a multi-agent system? Well, there are two really clear warning signs to look for. The first is when your logic gets way too complex. Your instructions have become this confusing maze of if-then-else branches. The second sign, you've hit tool overload. The agent has so many similar or overlapping tools that it's starting to get confused about which one to use. If you see that happening, that's your cue to start splitting the workload among specialists. Okay, we've designed our agent, we've even thought about how it might work in a team. But before we even think about letting it out into the wild, we have to do the final, and I'd argue the most important check, the safety inspection.
The core concept for agent safety is something called guardrails. And it's not just one single thing. Think of it more like a layered defense system, designed to protect you from all sorts of risks. Everything from leaking private data to your agent saying something that totally tanks your brand's reputation.
And this layered defense has to be pretty comprehensive. You've got guardrails that protect the input, like a relevance classifier to stop off-topic questions, or a safety classifier to catch jailbreaks. Then you have layers that protect the data itself, like filters for personally identifiable information. And finally, you have guardrails that protect the output, things like tool safeguards that require confirmation for high-risk actions, or simple block lists. Each layer builds on the last, creating a much more robust and safe system.
Now, building these guardrails isn't something you do once and then forget about. It's a process. Here's a simple 3-step way to think about it. Step 1. Focus on the basics first: data privacy and content safety. Get that foundation right. Step 2. You add new guardrails as you go, based on real-world failures. You learn from what goes wrong. And step 3. You're constantly tuning and optimizing, trying to find that perfect balance between airtight security and a smooth user experience.
But you have to remember, even with the absolute best automated guardrails in the world, your ultimate safety net is still a human. For those really high stakes or irreversible actions, think about authorizing a huge refund. Building in a step for human approval isn't a weakness in your system. It's actually the key to making an agent truly trustworthy and reliable in the real world. So, as these agents give us this incredible new power, the ability to automate not just single simple tasks, but entire complex workflows, it really leaves us with a pretty profound question to think about. As we hand over more and more autonomy to these systems, what does it truly mean to be in control?